football fans, Gooners, welcome to another edition of the Positively Uncensored Arsenal podcast. I am your host, Shotta, and on the other side is my friend and my expert, Blackburn George. How are you doing, George?
Very well, thank you.
We had some technical problems, but I think we've solved them. This is our Chelsea Arsenal match review, George. And yesterday was, in my opinion, a creditable fight back by Arsenal after falling 2 goals behind. What is your overview of that match?
Well, I think, first of all, the result in the end was very good, given that we were absolute shite for nearly all of the game.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it was an awful performance. But to come from 2-0 behind, away from home, against a team that was playing quite well anyway, is creditable. But bar one moment of class, Saka to Trossard, and the Declan Rice, to be fair, it was a phenomenal goal, albeit it was a gift. I thought we played very poorly. But the result, not losing, you can't complain about that. It's the performance that worried me. And it especially worried me because I thought that was our best 11.
Well, I agree with you on that, George. I thought it was our best side. But I thought that Chelsea surprised us. They certainly surprised me, George. I haven't watched them intensely, but the games that I've seen them, they were not as accomplished. They were not as effective. But they created a lot of problems for us, particularly in the first half.
Well, I'm not sure about that because I think they've had very similar games against a good few teams this season where they've looked good up till the final third and round the box. And once again, they didn't look particularly good round the box. I mean, they weren't exactly peppering us with shots. Well, they were playing without a striker for a start, but they've not been as bad as people have thought they've been up until this point. But we were poor. I mean, they were clearly the better team.
They were. I think they did. I think that they did something. Well, to me, it was like the It was oh, for heaven's sake, a typical team coached by what you may call him. Why did I just Pochettino? George, it's just I'm getting old. Yeah, I mean they kind of pressed us when we were in possession, then dropped back in their own half. Lee Dixon made the observation that both Saliba and Gabriel didn't have anybody to mark, and they were ineffective. What do you thought about that observation that they're pressing of us, especially when they're out of possession? This kind of discombobulated us.
Yeah, but basically they played with 2 false 9s.
Yes, this Palmer and the other dude.
What that gives you basically is 5 in midfield.
Yes, it does.
Against
then Caicedo was coming up was playing like a box to box, although he was a defensive midfielder. But go ahead, George.
But that gives you 5 against 3 when they drop into that deeper position. And our midfield was totally ineffective, particularly in the first half. It was awful. It was non-existent. But there was 5 of them and only 3 of us. But like every system, it has its strengths and weaknesses. And the weaknesses were that they didn't have a striker, they didn't have anybody sort of in the box.
Right.
I mean, Sterling gave Shevchenko a torrid time.
Oh my goodness!
To the
And
extent,
Cucurella, Murdoch on the other side, was also giving us some problems. I thought, you remember we were all like relieved he didn't come to us, but he was particularly effective. They were pushing us back on the flanks, Murdoch and Sterling.
yeah, they were, and well, they were the better team, and but it was a surprise, and whatever our setup was, we didn't adapt in game to the surprise that they gave us at the beginning.
Yes.
I think teams of old would have adapted themselves, but our players are so rigid and set, and Arteta's directing things that the players don't seem to think for themselves, see the problems and fix them themselves. They're waiting for direction. So you at least have to wait till half time to get some directions. Whereas in the past, they would have known after 10 minutes and they would have done something about it themselves. But now they have to seem to wait till half time or till somebody goes down injured that Mikel can get them on the side of the pitch and give them new instructions and tell them what to do. But it didn't work, whatever it was. I thought it would have worked, but I have to be honest, I thought Declan Rice would be our deepest line midfielder.
Yes.
And Jorginho would play further forward on the left midfield.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the other way around, really, I think. And it didn't work. Rice is probably, with the exception of Rodri, he's probably the best defensive midfielder in the league. And you have to play him there. If you want to take advantage, you have to play him. And when he moved back there, when they took Jorginho off, he immediately became a lot more effective. So I think Mikel got it wrong. I don't blame him for getting it wrong because I got it wrong as well. I thought that team was the right team to start with. But we should have made the changes or whatever changes he was going to make to adapt to the situation. He should have been able to make them earlier and see it sooner. But I was surprised at half time when he took Shevchenko off because I would have taken Jorginho off, moved Rice back, and brought Havertz or Smith Rowe on to play in the Xhaka position and got back to our old way of playing. But who's to say that would have worked either? It's all right for us in hindsight, saying we should have done this, that, and the other. But there's no saying that would work either. So I think we got out of it. It's a bit of a miracle, really, to get out of it with a point.
Yeah. Before I probe you with another question, I just learned on Twitter today is Arsene Wenger's birthday, and your reference to him and his management technique is important. Everybody likes to they pile in on the old geezer, but he had something about him when he said, I don't direct the players on every play. They need to work it out on their own. George, the point is, they could have easily been 2 goals up because they created chances in the first half. I'm not saying that it was a lot of chances because the match stats are there for us. They only had 11 add to the stage. They only had 11 shots, but we only had 13. And contrary to the eye test, we had more possession than them. But I thought in the first half, in particular, they were very effective, and I was happy to see us get out of there in the first half with only 1 goal up. And I thought you to goal at that because normally a penalty like that is not called.
No, I feel sorry for Saliba.
Yes,
because that's never a penalty. And I don't care what the rules say. Mm-hmm. If the rules say that's a penalty, the rules are wrong. There's still photograph. The justification for giving the penalty is that his arms are in an unnatural position.
Correct.
And there's a still photograph of both him and Mudryk in the air going to head the ball.
Right.
And Mudryk's arms are in the exact same position as Saliba's. So he's doing, in order to jump to head the ball, he's done exactly the same as Saliba. So that's clearly the natural position when you're jumping to head a ball. And then they'll say, oh, well, it was going in if it hadn't hit his arm. It wasn't going in. It was going
no, they showed that on my feed that it wasn't going in.
It was going miles wide.
Yes.
And, it's just not a penalty. That said, if it happens to us next week, we'll be screaming for a penalty.
Exactly. That's the life of a football fan. So we take the position that you win some and you lose some, they all work out, and of course they don't, especially
no, they don't. But not only that, but there was we should have got a penalty for the foul on Jesus by the goalkeeper. That was, almost a sending off. Never mind a bloody penalty.
He clobbered him.
He came out
for the corner.
He just absolutely wiped him out. So
they say it was his own, that it was an Arsenal player who wiped out Jesus. So I kind of,
Again,
but again, they don't usually give. They don't usually. Sorry, George. Go ahead. Sorry.
Bad refereeing and bad use of VAR. But then you get people saying that one of their players should have been sent off for a foul on Jesus.
The guy Cole Palmer showed.
Cole Palmer, yeah, I don't see that as a red card.
Yeah.
No, he only just got to him. It wasn't like he was going in with force.
Yes.
It was a foul, yeah.
Yes.
And then a still photograph, it looks bad, but his momentum had stopped by that point. It wasn't a leg breaker. So that wasn't a penalty for me. But everybody cries it's that would have been a penalty if it would have been the other way around.
Yes.
And not a penalty, a sending off. But it's that's like you say, that's football fans. Everything in your favour you're happy about, and everything against you is a conspiracy.
Yes, and that's why I like when we take at least take a break overnight and don't react immediately. I know that gets the fans all riled up. What you thought, and I'm going to come to this again, but what you thought of Sterling on Zinchenko and Cucurella on Saka? Because one was negated and the other was being overrun. I thought that was the two duels of the first half, in my opinion. Did you see it that way?
Yeah, I thought the Saka gave as good as he got, but Zinchenko was all at sea. And thankfully, Mikel Arteta took him off and replaced him, and that worked because Thomas Saka had a good game when he came on.
Yes, very defensive, very solid.
Yeah.
George, you make up, and I need to show you. You made this tweet and it was seen by quite a few people. But you say you can get good results with bad performances and poor results from bad performances. Obviously, it's something we've spoken about. And you're saying that we have been inconsistent so far. You want to elaborate on that?
Well, I think the tweet itself is self-explanatory. You can play badly and win, or get a decent result, which we did yesterday. Mm-hmm. And in the past, you've seen us play well and lose. But at the end of the day, over a 38-game season, mm-hmm. the results come from performances. Consistent good performances will get you consistent good results, with the odd aberration. But we've not had any consistent good performances this season. I can't think of a game that we played particularly well. The City game, I was really pleased with the shape of the team and how we coped with Manchester City. But it wasn't exactly enthralling stuff. It wasn't, it wasn't swashbuckling, which you can't expect against Manchester City. But we haven't seen it against anybody. We're not playing, in my opinion, anywhere near as well as we played last season. And that wasn't good enough to win the league. So not being as good as we were last season certainly won't be good enough to win us the league or challenge for it. We're going to have to start playing a lot better, a lot more often, or we're going to find ourselves just also rounds.
But at the rate things are going, we are basically among the top 3 teams. I don't think Brighton can last a distance, but I might be wrong. And I think that we have a deeper team, George. We have abundance of riches that we can call on from the bench. I was, you look at, Arsene Wenger would have been in Hog's heaven if he could call on some of those players that we brought on. We brought on Trossard, who scored. A very fine goal, by the way, George. With the outside of his, with his
yeah, it was an excellent goal.
We brought on the youngster there. We could bring on Nketiah when Jesus was not, overall did not play very well. I don't know if he got a shot off. So we have, good players. I don't know. Better players, a deeper squad.
Oh, yeah. I said that at the beginning of the season. I've said it a few times since. The squad itself is stronger and deeper. The first 11's not as good.
Yes, you made the point that with the departure of Xhaka, and you did tweet that today.
Xhaka, why are we not playing as well this season as we did last? You can come to a few conclusions, and there'll be a lot of reasons that you can cite. But for me, it's pretty obvious. We don't have Granit Xhaka. And that's made the difference between being very good and struggling a bit.
I thought Declan Rice, he plays a different role, but he is, as you kind of mentioned earlier, I thought Declan Rice played very well. He's more of a right-footed player.
He did in the second half, yeah.
Yes. And, like he played this box-to-box role. In fact, it's because he was willing to go forward where he got that shot off. Sanchez, well, both goalkeepers made errors, but Sanchez decided to play this ball short to a player under pressure. Declan Rice took the ball away from him and shot in the empty goal.
It wasn't quite that bad.
Yes.
It was worse, maybe. It wasn't a short pass. It was a pass into the middle of the park.
Yes.
And I think it was Gallagher it was meant for.
Yes.
Instead of coming back to collect it, he let Rice run past him and intercept it. Of course, the goalkeeper gets the blame.
Yes.
But if Gallagher hadn't been on his heels, that situation wouldn't have occurred. So, but the first time strike from Declan Rice was a thing of beauty.
Exactly.
From that far out, and you have to think it was a bit fortunate, really, because the way it swerved, and it was swerving another couple of yards, it would have been out. It would have missed. It would have missed.
Right within the upright, George.
Yeah,
right within the upright.
It swerved there. It was a phenomenal goal, but goals from that far out always carry a bit of good fortune. He didn't play that as it played out. He didn't intend to strike the ball like that with that much whip and curl on it. He just struck it hard for goal, but it turned out unsavable because it swerved so much. Just left the goalkeeper looking and everybody else looking stupid. It was a great goal, though, a great finish. I don't want to take away from it. It was, for him to hit it first time was excellent. I can't think of many players that would have the courage. They would probably have, because there was space in front of him, they'd probably take a touch and run into space.
Yeah.
And then by that time, the goalkeepers got back and the defenders have reformed. And it probably wouldn't have been a goal because he was collecting the ball from that far out. But to strike it first time, the way he struck it, that was a bit of a miracle shot.
But my point is that in the first half, well, in both halves, he was willing to defend like a terrier in the middle of the park, and there in the second half was when we needed the goal, he was willing to go forward pressure the ball in the opponent's half. I just thought he'd,
let's not say it was only him. We were all in their half.
Yeah,
everybody. The whole team was in their half for that play.
You mean for pressing them?
Yes. It wasn't just Declan Rice doing it on his own. He was no further up the field than anybody else. Everybody was pressing at that point, chasing a goal. But not taking away from the fact that he played. It was our best player by a distance.
Well, this is what I'm coming to, because I guess I have some other questions for you, but I guess we should switch right to that, because George, I was like, who scored, gave, and the EPL.com gave Saka the man of the match by a mile. George, Saka would, and I can bring the listeners some stats, and I would like to get some comments on this. But Saka was not in the game because Cucurella was on him like white on rice, and I know you said he gave him as much as he got, but the one time he got to make that assist, George, is when Cucurella was forced, because they made a substitution, put on their left back, their left back that they've been using for a long time, whose name eludes me, the black guy, and so Cucurella had gone inside a bit, and Saka, to his credit, was free and made that crossfield pass to Trossard. But that was, in my opinion, that was the rear cross he made. But your thoughts, George?
Yeah, well, I've seen some stats for Saka today, and they're quite impressive in the number of take-ons that he won, interceptions, tackles made, tackles won. He actually did have a good game in his own right, but I don't see him as man of the match. I'm thinking that, he just wasn't. But I think all of those are a bit skewed. If we don't if we don't get the draw,
we'll be held to pay.
You can knock two numbers off every one of them.
Yes.
Because there's no way they were like 7s and 8s.
But George, I mean, I could have gone deeper, but you said Saka had a good game, passing accuracy of 69%, 60 touches. I'm granted that Declan was playing a deeper role. They say he made 3 key passes. I couldn't recall it, all 3, but of course I recognize the square, the crossfield ball. I'm bringing up the stats. I don't know. Maybe the eye test failed me. What am I failing to see? Please, help me.
Well, it very, very often does fail as Shotta. That's the problem with watching football. Yeah. I think he had a good game. Comparatively, I mean, he wasn't outstanding because the team wasn't playing outstandingly well. And Cucurella did contain him to a degree, but he didn't have a bad game. If everybody played like him, to his standard, we would have won the game comfortably. So I don't see him as man of the match, but he was one of our better players.
Well, I would like to. Well, I'd certainly love to hear what people have to say on this, and
but just because somebody else plays well against you doesn't mean that you haven't had a good game.
That's correct, and
you can have if you're a striker and you've got Maldini marking you, you're not going to have a great game, are you? You might have had a good game if it was a different defender. If it was Pascal Segan that was marking you might have had a field day, but it wasn't. It was Maldini. So
Sure, yeah.
it's difficult to judge someone when Cucurella had a good game, and that's going to stop you looking good.
Cool.
It's as simple as that. If you're up against somebody having a really good game, or if you happen to be up against the best player in their team, it sort of makes you look less effective than you would do against a lesser player.
But obviously, who scored, George? If you scan this quickly, listeners, if you scan this as viewers, scan this chart that I've posted. Zinchenko, they gave only a 5.6, and he had a poor game. But what is this? I wanted to ask you about the David Raya situation, because it's coming back up now that Ramsdale is gonna get back in the team. But George, the first goal, what you thought of that? He was on the 6-yard line. Murdick was trying to cross that ball. Don't tell me he was trying to shoot, and it went all the way over him and into the back of the net. And then he made the error with the ball that he almost gave to, I think it was Jackson Palmer.
He did make an error with the ball, but he recovered it.
Yes,
and he also stopped Jackson from scoring a goal when he was through on one with him. And I thought that was very good goalkeeping. And yet, he chipped him. No way did he intend that to go in. Now, somebody like Leno would have been on his line and saved that.
Yes, but Leno is not coming out.
No, Leno's not coming anywhere. But
yes.
But Raya is in a more aggressive position. Mm-hmm. He's expecting that ball to be crossed to the back post.
Yes.
Which was the intention. And he's making it more difficult by taking up that position. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but David Seaman for England, was it Ronaldinho chipped him from almost the byline?
There's a famous YouTube clip that used to go around.
Yes. And that's David Seaman. And I was going to say he didn't get his positioning right. Sometimes these things happen and flukes. How do you set your stall out for that? There's no way did he play that, intend that goal. It's just a fucking fluke. So, all right, it's cost us a goal. But you have to weigh that against how much will it benefit us over the course of a season that he's taking up a more aggressive position than the old-fashioned goalkeepers who stuck on the line. There's no way that he's taken that position by accident.
No.
That's by design.
Mm.
So he's being told to do it, probably by the goalkeeping coaches, and with the acceptance of Mikel Arteta. So you see it all the time. They make a mistake playing out from the back and, why didn't they kick it long? Because they'll get fucking dropped if they keep kicking it long.
This is what happened.
Or by somebody else who won't kick it long, like they have done because Ramsdale wouldn't play the way that Arteta wanted. He's brought somebody in who thinks can. Now, if there's someone who comes in, starts playing the way Arteta wants him to play, he ain't getting dropped.
You know what struck me, George? And I saw Sanchez in the Chelsea goal. They got rid of the Kepa, I think.
Well, he got injured, didn't he? Oh no, he sold him, didn't they?
They sold him, They sold him. You would have thought, like, the classic English goalie like Pickford probably would have got that job, but no, he's still at Everton. For heaven's sake, that tells you something about where goalkeeping is going. This is the point I'm making. Isn't that correct, George, or am I off in the deep end?
Well, I think goalkeeping position has changed more than any position on the field over recent years. And it's no longer enough to be an old-fashioned goalkeeper that stays on his line and saves shots.
Correct.
You've got to be part of the team. I mean, for God, these guys are coming out and they're further up the field than Franz Beckenbauer used to be.
Do you notice that they, especially when they have the other team deep and they're defending against counters, the goalkeeper has to be outside of the penalty box, George, ready for the ball that's coming over the top.
They really are. They're almost on the halfway line, some of them now.
Yes.
I often see a ball played over the top with a striker running onto it, and I'm thinking, oh my God, this is a goal, they're away. You're only for the goalkeeper to appear in the shot and clear it because his starting position has been so high.
Right.
But in your mind, your goalkeeper's still back in his box. So you think that's a good ball, but it's not a good ball anymore because he's taking that ball out of the equation. But then, occasionally, once every blue moon, somebody will lob him, somebody will chip him from the halfway line. That's just going to happen sometimes. Just like that fluke goal yesterday happened. I can't see Raya being dropped for doing what I believe he's being told to do.
And neither do I, but, with all due respect, well, I think we know how Arteta works. If he's made a decision, if he's forced to reverse a decision, it is admitting failure, and he doesn't do that too easily. I don't, and just the personality of the man that I've seen from a distance. Raya has to really make a series of cock-ups before
catastrophic efforts he'll have to make.
Yes. But the media loves the debate, George, and you should be calling for Chelsea should be calling for Kepa over Sanchez.
Well, don't get Kepa now. He's moved, but
yes, I know.
But you're right that the media loves these pundits are paid money to tell you how much smarter they are than the managers. That's basically the job. To tell you that to try and convince the Joe public that they know more than the managers, and people do listen to them. Listen to you, Gary Neville's, and then you see what happens when he tries management for himself.
Right, he can't get another managerial job. By the way, George, you know who was on my feed yesterday on Peacock? It's at NBC. It's Phil Neville. I mean, he lost his job as a coach of the England women. And he's back as some sort of pundit on Peacock NBC. I was like, Christ, what can Phil Neville tell me? I know. I mean, he could, fortunately for him, Sir Bobby had died. God bless you. Rest in peace, Sir Bobby. You're the first, when I was a kid and I read about the Busby Babes, you're the name that I remember the most because you were the survivor. And also he scored a couple of goals in the 66 World Cup, George. That's not dating myself. But Sir Bobby, you always came across as a genteel man. You never know. It could be a public image, but that's the image I have of you. And may you rest in peace. The only Manchester United player probably like. How about you, George?
Yeah, I mean, there's only one left now from the 66 team that won the
Who is that?
Jeff Hurst.
Oh my God, he must be in his 90s, George.
I don't know. I don't think with that
80 something, right? Because
in his early 80s, but there's only him left.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's sad. But that said, everybody dies, Shotta.
Of course.
He was 86 years old, 87.
Yeah.
He had a fabulous life, fulfilled all his ambitions, lived a comfortable life,
yes,
revered throughout the world, and he had Alzheimer's. So,
yep, just like my dad.
Yeah. Sad that he's gone, but such is life. It'll be us soon.
Inevitably. Okay, well, guys, enough of the two old geezers who are looking to the life beyond the sweet beyond.
Looking to live to next week.
Yeah, give us your opinion as to the Saka, Declan Rice, or any other issue that we raise here today. Thanks again for your support. I know we have a loyal band of support, George. That's about what I can describe it, but we appreciate it, and it keeps us going. Final word from you, my friend.
Yeah, don't forget to go in the comments if you can, and that's about it. Help the allograms or whatever they're called.
They call it algorithms.
Algorithms,
yeah. But we like. But I would expect. I mean, at this point, I mean, we'd love the likes and stuff. But I love the comments, people. When you make the comments, I'm sure you know that I respond, and if it is in reference to George, he responds. Please, we just like giving our opinion, but this is football banter. Thanks again, George.
Okay, see you next week.
Bye.